husband?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Jessica.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Before we begin, I just want to make sure you understand the consent form that you sign and everything that said in here will be confidential.
Yes.
Okay, great. What brings you in today?
Well, I'm an addict.
Okay, can you tell me more about that?
Well, I have been an addict for several years, and I work a recovery program, but I have some underlying issues that I need to kind of get out. I can't really get them out in a meeting or with a sponsor, or just don't always feel comfortable.
Okay, how long have you been using?
Oh gosh, since I was about 18, so I'm 35, 17 years.
Okay, what's your drug of choice?
Crack cocaine.
Okay. When did you kind of realize or decide that was a problem?
Probably about the 18th time I went to jail, maybe.
Yeah.
It just kind of happens. I think I stepped into my first meeting in 2006. So, and even then, I didn't really admit that I was an addict and that I couldn't control the situation. So I think my final surrender was about a year and a half ago.
Can you tell me, what was a typical day like in active addiction for you?
Chaos, just complete, utter chaos, and doing absolutely anything to get that next one. It didn't matter, I left my kids, and my moral, all my morals were gone, and, never mind eating, sleeping. You get to an animalistic level, just period. Nothing else mattered. Nothing.
It definitely sounds like you realize and recognize that there's a problem.
Most definitely.
So are you in a recovery program right now?
I am. I live at Dove Recovery House. I have been here for since September 4th. It's actually my second time here. I came on July 1st last year. I went to jail and found out I was pregnant. So I came and I stayed until the day before Thanksgiving last year and moved out, and I relapsed right after I left. And I relapsed again in August with a baby. I left my baby with my mom, and she surrendered her to child protection. And so I went immediately to detox. I used for 12 hours and went to detox and came back to Dove House. So I've been here. My 90-day commitment is up on Thursday, and I'm actually moving over next week.
Moving out of the house?
Yes.
Okay. Where are you going to be going?
I'm actually going to live in my own house for the first time ever in my life.
Okay.
It's quite nerve-wracking. I'm real scared. I'm real scared. I have a lot of, self-doubt, doubt on whether or not, I know I'm a good mom, but to be the sole caregiver to my kids, it takes a lot of my reservations away. I can't just tell my mom I'm going to the store and not come back. I'm solely responsible for my kids.
So will you be getting your daughter back then?
Yes, they want me, Child Protection wants me to be in the home by myself for 2 weeks, and then they're transitioning her back in the home. The reason the process was kind of expedited was because she's in a foster home with a brilliant foster mom, and she has other children, and one of the little boys that she has, his mom had a younger baby, and the baby's actually in the NICU, so they've already asked the foster mom to take her. So my daughter, she takes precedence over my daughter because she's a sibling of a baby that's already there. So in order to keep her from going to another foster home, I need to move out and be ready for her to come home.
Can you tell me a little bit about your support network?
I have a sponsor who has a sponsor who has a sponsor who has a sponsor. I have, the girls here at Dove House, the alumni. I have the assistant director is a great support to me. I go to 12-step meetings. I have a network. We talked yesterday in my team meeting about support other than that, people that I can call to keep the baby, because I had a situation where I got sick last weekend. I had to call the foster mom and take the baby back to her. And it was really my only option. You know, I didn't really even think about who I could call in the case that I got sick that could come and help me take care of the baby, or that I could go drop the baby off to. So really kind of got smacked in the face with preparedness when I leave here.
What about family? Like your mom, your dad, do you have any?
You gonna open the can of worms about my mom? All right, here we go. My mom is an addict. She used the whole time I was growing up. As a matter of fact, the day that I graduated high school, she washed her hands. My job is done. Even she didn't raise us. My grandparents raised my sister and I, because my mom couldn't stop using. So the day that I graduated high school, she said her job was done and she moved to Alaska. That was 1997, and she came back in 2007. She got sober there. She worked a program. She actually found her boyfriend at the time overdosed, and she got clean. So when she came back here, everything was fine. You know, she was working a program. I stepped into the program. You know, we had a healthy relationship. Over the past 4 or 5 years, she has stopped attending meetings. She does not have sponsee. She doesn't have a sponsor. She doesn't do the things. So basically what we call a dry drunk. Mm-hmm. And so her behavior is off the hook. There's really no other way to say it. And she's not a healthy relationship for me. We trigger each other. We have this 6 cycle. I think someone once explained it to me as a toxic cycle, where, you know, like I'll do better, and then she'll sabotage and I'll fail, but my actions to her sabotage, and then she'll rescue me, and then I'll do better, and then she'll sabotage, I'll react, and it's just a really sick cycle. Not supportive. Even now when we're getting ready to make these moves, she's had my son the whole time, and even now when we're getting ready to make this move, she has made things extremely difficult. Just anything and everything that she can do to put more stress on me, or just make any decision difficult. She doesn't follow through with the discipline that I've asked her to. And even at this point, my 11-year-old son had says that, you know, he's done. He's done with Granny. He does not want to be there. She just makes everyone miserable around her.
So it sounds like you've kind of tried to set some boundaries up with her. And she
which is all new work.
Them.
It's all new work. You know, I'm 35 and I've never set boundaries with her. So, and it's not just setting boundaries. It's setting healthy boundaries and being able to follow through with those boundaries. She never was a mom. So she still tries to mother me, and when I don't allow her to mother me, she tries to parent my kids. She doesn't know how to be a mom or a grandma at this point, and so we kind of are learning together, except she's resistant.
Do you think that, where do you see the relationship in the future? Do you think that she'll be willing to work with you and maybe seek help, therapy for it?
I go back and forth over where our relationship will go, and a lot depends upon her. You know, I cannot control her behavior. The only thing that I control is how I react to it, and which is work in itself, because I've reacted poorly in the past. So I have to set those boundaries. But, you know, I would love to see her get back in the program. However, I don't really foresee that happening, and it's unfortunate, because I'm not sure that she'll ever have a healthy relationship with me or my kids. But then I get into the guilt and the shame of, you know, my kids deserve to have a grandparent. You know, so it's a really hard situation to go through, and it's hard for me to process. As far as therapy, you know, my son's school-based therapist offered to do a group session with us, and we've done group sessions throughout my life, and what it usually ends up being is everything that I did wrong. And she focuses and tears me down in the session. And so I've resisted doing one for a long time. I talked to my therapist about the whole situation, and she just said that that's the mediator that allows that to happen. And that because I was usually a child, I don't think we've done it since I was like 17. And I couldn't speak up for myself or advocate for myself. And it was unfortunate that we went through that, because the therapist at the time couldn't mediate that situation. We're strong personalities. I have a huge personality, And my mom does too. And so I'm sure that it would be intimidating for anyone to be in a room with both of us, especially when we're butting heads. Like, I don't know how my dad's done it. The poor fella. So, and I don't know where it's going to end up. But I know that I can't allow her to affect my recovery in a negative way. And whether or not she catches up is up to her.
How many meetings do you attend a week?
I'd like to get more in. I actually was working, and so my scheduling was very difficult with having, to schedule visitations with both kids in separate homes. And so now I'll be able to attend about a meeting a day, which is a great situation to be in. However, I have to find another job. So it really just depends on what my schedule looks like. I need 3 meetings a week, period. I would like to get 5 in. But, I've met some resistance with having my 9-month-old in a meeting, and what a distraction that is for other people. So, that it's a struggle being a single mom in recovery. And, of course, the principles of the program state that an open meeting is an open meeting and that I can take the baby anywhere. So I just won't attend those meetings anymore with the baby if someone's offended. So then, take the risk of someone else being offended in a different meeting. So it's kind of, unfortunately, it's a difficult situation, but I have to respect other people as well. I can't just walk in and say the world is about me.
Are you working the steps?
Yes, I actually just did step 1 with my sponsor last night, and that was our goal, was to have that done before I left here. So now we're on 2, and then obviously 3. So, actually, she gave me some great homework. I had to read the first 164 pages, and every time the word, oh gosh, what word was that? I think it was that. Every time the word that, oh no, must. It was the word must. Every time that it appeared in the first 164 pages, I had to write down the word before and the word after.
What'd you get out of that?
That it appears a lot, first of all. And that what it does is make you thoroughly read it. Thoroughly read it. You don't just skim through it and say, oh, okay, I got this. And when you see the word must, this is what we must do. Period, point blank, this is what we must do in order to recover. And so that triggers, or we must attend. We must attend meetings. We must work steps. It makes you look at the things that we must do in this program. It's quite interesting.
Wow. What's important to you?
Oh, my kids are important to me. First and foremost, my recovery. Without my recovery, all bets are off. The kids don't exist. My life doesn't exist. My parents' life doesn't exist. Everything else is irrelevant if I use. So recovery is first and foremost. Then it's going to be my kids, and supporting my kids and being a single mom and getting to know me and loving me for me. And after that, everything else is pretty much irrelevant. If I get in a relationship later in life, okay, I'm not sure what that looks like, But right now, my recovery and my kids.
That's great that you see, your recovery as being the most important. Most addicts, they think, their kids should be first, or they want to put everything else first before their recovery, and, it never works out for them.
No.
What would you say are some of your weaknesses?
Fear. I said before that I'm real scared of being on my own. So loneliness, fear. Gosh, I really think I'm a strong person, so it's hard to say my weaknesses. I'm obsessive. I think most addicts are. I think that people, places, and things. In past history, I've relapsed behind a relationship and a certain person. And so I got to walk through this 90 days here, and he came home from prison, and he relapsed within 6 days. And so I got to walk through my weakness for him and come through that stronger, because it really, I hurt for him, but he's where he is, and I can't continue to engage with that. So he was definitely a weakness for me that I've overcome. I don't know. I think that I care too much sometimes about other people and where they're at. I really have to refocus. When I came in this time, I noticed that my humility and being humble were weaknesses for me, and that without those two things, I would never be truly grateful. I can't be grateful if I'm not humble. And so I really have worked on that. I really have worked on backbiting and talking about other people and focusing on other people, and how strong my tongue is when I talk about other people.
How do you deal with your fear and some of your negative emotions that you have?
I don't. I got laid off from my job last week, and I was supposed to move in the house this weekend. And 1,000 forms of fear. You know, what does that look like for the baby? What does that look like for my son? What does that look like for the house? What does it look like? You know, I'm a failure. Like, I have this huge thing about failure. I cannot fail. And I really just kind of sat still. My solution was no one was going to hire me the week of Thanksgiving, so I couldn't go right out and get another job. So I said, I'm just going to go pick the baby up from the foster mom, and I'm going to keep her all week. And so we just kind of hung out, you know. But I still sat in my fear of what was going to happen next. So I just had to step back and breathe and walk through it. And to my higher powers, grace, everything has worked where I can still move out this week. And it really was nothing to do with me. It was the fact that I sat still and walked through it without running. Traditionally, when I lose a job, not even when it's this important, I would go back out and use. Well, I'm a failure, just a case of the buckets. And and so I was blessed to walk through it and sit still and have the room to breathe, to have her here as my focus. This is why. This is why you can't fail right now. This is why you have to just walk through this fear. I already have 2 interviews. I put in 82 applications this morning online.
Wow.
Career Builder, have to love them. I have 2 interviews lined up, and I have 3 other emails that I still have to respond to. The landlord told me to go on and move into the house rent-free for the month of December. Just all these things have fallen into place. Because we had a big fear about Mari having to be moved to a different foster home. And what does that look like for my 9-month-old daughter in foster care? So if I sit and I breathe, and I call my sponsor, and I call the people in my program, and I keep talking about it, and I keep sharing about it in meetings, the fear's not just mine anymore. I share that. And what that does is it gives that fear less power. If I sit in it, then it has all the power and control. But if I share about it and I let other people carry that burden with me, it has no power and control anymore.
You're definitely using your tools. That's good. What are some of your strong points?
Ooh, I'm so determined. So determined. And I'm a good mom, no matter what, anything that I've walked through. I was kind of smacked in the face this time when I came in. There was a person who just didn't have those parenting skills. And when I first got here, I'm like, how the hell could you not know how to be a parent? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And I really battled with it. Like, I was angry for a long time, and I had to sit back and say, why are you so angry? Then I had to get in the gratitude that parenting comes second nature to me. I don't really have to think about it. It just is kind of what has to be done, which is a blessing since I never had a mom. Like, how did that happen? But I think that I'm organized, I'm determined, I'm introspective. I can look at me and say, okay, what's going on? You know, and I don't always get it right, but I can go I know the right people to go to and say, I don't really know the solution to this. You know, can you help me? I don't have a problem asking for help. I'm not real prideful. I love me, don't get it twisted. But I'm not real prideful. I can, this time I have some humility, and I can say, I really can't do this. I can say, for the past week until yesterday, I just kept saying, I feel some kind of way. And I can't really describe it, but I need to let people know that I feel some kind of way. And I don't really know what to do with it right now. So, I'll put the work in. I don't have any issue at all putting work in, no matter what it is. No matter whether it's dealing with my kid who's got ADHD and ODD and the school and getting everything in line for him, whether it's dealing with DCS and the courts, whether it's, drug court, it doesn't matter. We just look at it, we pick it apart, and this is what needs to be done.
Now, your relapse when you moved out of the Dove House the first time, looking back at it, what do you think, why do you think that happened? I mean, could you see yourself in relapse mode way before the relapse even happened, or did it just happen?
Oh, well, depends on who you ask. I didn't really see it, and I do now, but I didn't at the time. And again, it was that relationship, and my choosing to engage in that unhealthy relationship, and the fear of leaving here and not knowing what I was going to do pregnant. People, places, and things. I was hanging out in the trap house with him because that's where he was, and that was the only place that I could see him, knowing that when he went in the bathroom, that's what he was doing, and saying, oh, I don't have to use. And I didn't for a long time. I was there almost daily for about 3 months, and something clicked one day, and that quick I was like, sell me some. And it was over. It was over. I used for, I think 12 hours is the magic number for me right now, which is good because I haven't obsessed and went out for longer than that. But we need to get those 12 hours done too. We don't need to do that anymore. And then it was like, what am I doing to this baby? And, this is not okay.
So keeping that in mind, as you prepare to leave the Dove House this week, you know the red flags that you just need to be able to recognize that and have, accountability partners, people to call you out on it.
Most definitely.
That you talk to, on a daily basis.
Well, even now, people that knew me the last time before I left, and tell me on a pretty regular basis that there's a difference. Because I'm not out running around, messing with men, not going to meetings and saying I'm going to meetings, not doing this and not doing that. I'm not doing a lot of the chaos and unmanageability that I was the last time right before I left. I'm a lot more prepared this time to walk out these doors as I was then.
Good. Okay, so let's just say you woke up one day and things were different for you. What would you want to be different? What would your life look like?
Really nothing. I think that, everybody wants the white picket fence. Everybody wants to have the money to pay all their bills on time every month and not have to stress over things. Everybody wants, the Ken Barty husband, whatever. I don't really want Ken, but, everybody wants that. I think everybody has a small child dreams for that. But if you asked me that today, I honestly would not change a thing. Reason being, I would not be the person that I am today had I not walked down the road that I walked down. And I think that, they say that grateful addicts stay sober. I'm grateful for everything that happened to me, down to, the rape that I got sober behind last time. Down to, the fact that DCS has my daughter and I have this time to move away from that toxic relationship with my mom. Down to having to humble myself and walk back in these doors as an alumni and say, I messed up. And to face everyone and how humiliating that is. Down to an abusive childhood that we haven't even touched on yet. Down to my mom being an addict, my dad being an enabler. I don't think that I would change a thing about me today. I think that I'm a stronger, wiser, better person today than I would have been if I hadn't walked the struggle.
With that being said, you're a survivor. You're not a victim. You're worth it. So do you have a plan in place for when you leave? Are you
my
getting
aftercare
that
plan
right now?
that Miss Shelley is on me about making. maybe it's the fear. Maybe that's why I'm dragging my feet. I was supposed to do it last night, and I just kind of looked at it and was like, yeah, I'm going to bed. But here's the thing. I'm supposed to graduate drug court next week, and if I don't do it today, she can't submit it, and it'll push my graduation date from drug court back. Never mind the fact that they don't really want me to leave here without an exit plan. So basically, it's just, and Shelly's idea is that it goes on everyone's refrigerator in their new house. Who to call in case of, emergency, or in case of, this is what I need to do. It's a list of the meetings that I commit to attend every week. It's a list of what the things that I need to do. It's a very extensive plan, and, in case of, what do we do, and what does that look like? So, I'll have to do that today, before class. How about that? I'm trying. I'm a procrastinator. Imagine that.
Okay, so, what do you think is the biggest thing that you've gotten from this Dove House?
I don't think that I'm done receiving from Dove House. I think that from the day that you walk into these doors until you die, if you work the Dove House program like it's written, when you move out of here, you're not done. I'm very blessed that they started the Alumni Association while I was here, because I think it's a beautiful thing. I think that as addicts, they always say we can only keep what we have by giving it away. I think it's beautiful that I'll be able to come back in here at any point in time, and even if I'm just having a rough day, I can walk back in these doors with the kids, be welcome, hang out, and just have a safe environment for the day. I don't think that, I think that I need to come back. I think that I need to share my experience, strength, and hope with the girls that are just coming in. I think that I got, self-assurance, and still getting self-assurance, still knowing that there are people that work this program and that are successful every day. Every day. I love when the alumni come in.
So what is can you tell me a little bit more about the alumni?
Anybody that has done a 90-day commitment at minimum. Anyone who has completed the 90-day commitment and continues to stay sober is considered an alumni. When I called Miss Shelley with nowhere to go and the baby in DCS, I said, I really need to know if you have a bed. And her response to me was, we always keep a bed open for a dovette who has broken their wing and needs to come home and heal. And I think that that is the most powerful thing, that once you're a dovette, you are always a dovette. And this house loves you, and you love the house. There's so much love in this house. Even when we're backbiting and fighting, we love each other. You put a bunch of women in a house, it's going to happen, right? Even when I'm complaining because somebody stole my milk, well, just go buy another gallon, or, get somebody else will have some that you can use. It is what it is. But and just the camaraderie, just knowing that I can live in a house full of women, coming from jail umpteen million times, and how people fight in jail, and how women relationships are so unhealthy, to walk in and have a healthy relationship with a woman, considering that I've never had a healthy relationship with my mom, let alone any other woman. It's something I could never get anywhere else.
Why do you think you started using drugs? Like, what's the core reason why?
People, places, and things. Watching my mom use, I always said, never, ever, ever in my life going to do that. And then I'm hanging around these people, and, I was 18. First time I ever smoked pot, first time I ever drank, first time I ever did anything in my life, put any minor mood-altering substance in my body, I was 18. And I'm like, here, smoke some weed, and within 2 weeks, I'm smoking crack. It was a very quick progression for me. And it was really just that I couldn't face life on life's terms. I didn't have any of the skills that I needed. Growing up in an abusive home, I was pulled and placed into, as a chintz case at 13. From the time I was 13 until I was 18, I was awarded a state. And so I grew up in institutions. I was already institutionalized. And so when I turned 18 and I was out on my own, I had no skills to take care of myself. And so I just turned to fill that void. that had never been filled as a child.
Have you ever dealt with the physical and sexual abuse? Like the rape
Oh,
that you
I'm
mentioned?
sure.
Have you had offered any therapy?
No. Everybody keeps telling me I need to. I am now. Death House offers a therapist, however that will end when I leave here. And I don't have insurance, so I'm not really sure what it's going to look like at this point. I really came to peace with the rape the last time I was sober. I had 2.5 years sober when I got sober behind the rape. And he's serving a 40-year prison sentence. And I don't feel like it's an issue. I don't feel like I used behind that. I feel like I actually stay sober behind that because I know that that's where that leads me. If I hadn't been in active addiction, not that it makes it okay, but I never would have been in that situation. I would have been at home in my bed, being a parent. So, I have to give some type of justification to the fact that I was using and it never would have happened. So, I don't know. For a long time, I couldn't drive past the corner where it happened. And now, to today, I drove by there 3 times. Like, I'm not even fazed by it anymore. I still, sometimes I wonder about writing him a letter. And what his response would be. Actually, my unhealthy relationship just came from the same prison. And he told me that he saw him while he was in the prison in the barbershop. And he said, "Are you such and such?" And he was like, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Do you know Jasmine?" And the man said, "No, why? What did she say about me?" And so, just wow. Wow. And I would like to speak to him. He tried to intimidate me in court. Like, I really want to look him in his face today and say, "Hey, you didn't break me. You made me stronger." And I'm just not really sure what that looks like.
Now, this as part of the steps, amends are involved in that, right?
Yeah.
Is that hard for you to kind of have to go down through the steps and wait to get to that part? You can't do it all at one time.
I don't really, no, it's not. Because I think that, number one, a lot of those amends, whether they be financial or not, I'm already making. From the day that I walked into sobriety, I'm a living amends for the things that I did while I was using. And so the fact that I come to you and say, "I'm sorry, I stole your car." True story. Sorry, I stole your car. It's not necessary until I get there. Because the fact that I'm not using, most people are grateful to see me doing something different before I even come to them and say. I don't think that, I don't know. If they don't like it, it's fine. If you're not okay with me just getting sober at this point, that's your problem. I don't know. Yeah, I'm okay with it. I can wait. I don't want to do it. I don't want to go tell everybody I'm sorry.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I have no idea. The future is so unknown. Part of the program is living just for today. Ideally, I see my son in, oh my God, he'll be a junior. And, the baby in kindergarten, and possibly a relationship up to a man that's an example to them. I see a career somewhere. Felonies are fun. So, I just want to be happy. I just want to be sober, and I want to be happy. I want my kids to have a future, and to not wonder where I'm at, and not to wonder when mommy's leaving again.
With everything that you've been through and where you're at now, let's say, 9 more months, you'll have a year.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do to give back and help others?
I've been a sponsor before. I'm definitely on point with sponsoring. Honestly, just being an example and living every day sober, and having, be in the alumni situation and come back in and show people, there is a better way. This program does work the way it's written. And just to, you give leads, service work, be in a position, a GSR position or a secretary position in a meeting, just to continue to carry the message to that who's still suffering. There's nothing more that I can give people other than sobriety. Like, that's God's greatest gift.
Wow, I just went blank. Have you, are you going to continue to go to the same meetings that you go to on this side of town, or are you going to try looking for new meetings?
I think that Saturday night here at Dove House has become kind of my home group, and I think that as part of my service work, it will continue to be, and that keeps me connected to Dove House as an accountability to be here every Saturday night. I think that I'm struggling at this point to find meetings that accept me and the baby, and so had already planned on venturing out to find different meetings than the ones I have been attending. So, not really sure. I know that, it's suggested some sponsors suggest to change meetings a lot and keep just your home group. That way you can build your network. Some sponsors suggest to go to the same meetings every week. I think that the same meetings every week becomes monotonous because you hear the same people share over and over. And I would rather meet new people and expand my network.
It sounds like, you're doing really well. You know what you need to work on. How hard is it for you to actually change something?
It's horrendous. It's horrendous. I need to pray more. And my sponsor suggested that I stick my shoes all the way underneath my bed, so that every morning I have to get down on my knees to get my shoes. Now I'm fat and I'm old, so I'm not real fond of that idea. And so I still haven't done it. And so I have to find something that triggers, if you change, they say, quote unquote, if you change your behavior for 30 days, that it just becomes second nature. So I have to find something else to trigger that, to pray every morning, thank God for another day, or pray every night, or both. So, but to change a behavior, I worked on humility hardcore for like 3 weeks. Like, I'm asking everybody what their definition of humility is. I'm asking everybody, what does that look like? I'm bringing it up as a topic in meetings. And I still don't have it completely because I'm an imperfect person. Human beings are imperfect. But I've learned a lot about humility. But it took 3 weeks to even get to a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm really not humble. To even admit it. To change talking about people. When I got down this week about losing the job, I caught myself continuing to focus. Why is she doing that? Look at her, type stuff. I had to pump my brakes, step back and say, it's not really your business.
How do you deal with running into people from your past that maybe you used to use with?
Well, funny part about that is, when you run into somebody most of the time you don't really even know where you know them from. The good thing about that is I didn't go by my name in the street. And so if they come up to me and call me by a different name, I already know that they're from the street. And so my first response is, who's that? I don't know who you're talking about. You got me mistaken. Immediate response. And that way there's not even a conversation. Like, I'm sorry, that's not my name, But then I have people that do know me. I really tend to avoid, honestly, I still have contact with my supplier, mainly because I dated his brother for 6 years, and he's very supportive of my recovery. But it's only via telephone. I haven't seen him face to face in quite some time, and it's really just a phone call here and there to say, just want to check in and see how you were. So, but the good part about that is I know where our core group is a majority of the time. Like, what neighborhood, where y'all at now? And he'll tell me the general neighborhood. So I don't go in that neighborhood. I'm not even a gas station close to it because that narrows my chances of seeing someone I used to use with. That knows for real, like, yeah, you are. That's you. Drug court. Went to drug court last week. There's a girl in there drunk who I know from the street. And whom I put out quite a few times in the street, beat up quite a few times in the street because I really couldn't handle her, nor could I handle her drunk in drug court. But the good thing about that is it reminds me of the insanity and the fact I remember my dope man looking at me and saying, "That bitch needs to go," and dragging her out the house by the head of her hair braid. And how mean I was. Just how all you had to do is say something, and I jumped up and did it. Like, really? Okay. You know? And just the insanity of, he just wanted her out. And so I did what he wanted me to do. It didn't matter whether. And do I still not like her because he couldn't stand her? Or do I really just not like her? And how unfair is it of me to make that decision about you based off of his decision of you?
Do you run into people in recovery that you've used with?
Woo! First meeting I ever walked into in 2006. From Muncie. I just came out of jail on a case I went to for dealing, and the girl whose car I had rented to make the dope run right before the police came in the house is sitting in the meeting, who was in my house when the police kicked the door in. And I walked in the meeting, and here she is. Someone who I knew how obsessive she was about using. I knew she was an addict, and I looked down on her all the time because she would rent us her car, she would clean our house, like, it didn't matter. She would do whatever she had to do to get a little bit of dope. And at that point, I hadn't hit that level. I was just selling at that point. I was halfway successful at it, you know, smoking a supply. My first meeting, I walk in and she's sitting there. And she's not sober today. But it was weird. Like, here I am scared to death. I'm walking into a room full of addicts, and, you know, it's the hillbilly on the corner that's, you know, got the cup with the change trying to, you know, get the next drink. That's not me. And I walk in and I know somebody. And I'm like, wow, maybe I might be home. You know, and I still don't really get it. And I still run into people all the time that I used with. And today, when I run into somebody that I knew in the street, I'm relieved. My dope man's girlfriend has been sober. She went back out about the same time as me, and she came into a meeting the other day. Mind you, we dated brothers for 6 months. We lived in the house, you know, me doing what I do, and she was doing what she did, and we was getting high. And now we're sober together, and I love to see her. I talk to her almost on a daily basis. Just the fact that we can come from where we came from, and to walk through the recovery together is a blessing. You know, I went through the obsession for a while, like going back and saying, hey, you want to come get sober? Like, this is not worth it, you know? And my dope man let me take him up out the house. He take her to a meeting, you know what I mean? Because she's going to come back and get high. But the fact that she has stayed sober and I have stayed sober and we've walked through it together is just, like, you can't even, there's not even words to explain it.
How often does the thought of using come up at this point?
It really doesn't. I'm blessed. I'm blessed that it doesn't. I don't have the obsession. I got sick. When I got sick, I wanted to use. I was like, man, I could go, you know, because you can't, if you're in drug court, you really can't even take no cold medicine without dropping dirty. I'm like, man, I could just go and get high and not feel this. So I wanted to get high then. When I first found out about the job, I knew that I had to come straight home. I knew that if I gallivanted or detoured, that I may not be okay. Did I want to get high? No. Did I know that if I didn't come straight home, that there was a possibility? Yep. So I came straight home. You know, I said before, if I use, all bets are off. All this is for nothing. And I've worked too damn hard to get to where I am, to give it all up. So it's not really on the plate for me. I'm blessed, because that's not how some people are. You know, some people obsess over it for days and days and months and years. Thank God, because I don't have room for it right
Well, I appreciate your honesty. Thank you for coming in and talking with me.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I do want you to work on that aftercare plan. It's
Mhm.
very important that you have the plan, in place. Thank you.
Thanks.